Yes. Just give me a second.
Srini, welcome. What a pleasant surprise.
Hey, it's all for you and Nalin.
Thanks, brother. Thank you. Hope all well at home.
Hope all well at home. Yes. And Nalin तो छोड़ता नहीं हम लोग को. And Nalin पूछेगा तो हमको तो करना ही पड़ेगा ना.
Thank you, Srini. Thank you. It's a big strength. Your presence is a big strength.
Yeah, as I speak, I'm at a hospital, but anyhow, I'll join you guys.
A grateful thanks to you.
Morning, friends. I am Nalin Srivastava, as you all know, and I welcome you to the sixth in the series NHRDN and Young Women Roundtable for increased participation of women in workplace. Now, we have Mr. Alok Shiyapurkar from Bfsi, who will be moderating the session today, and we have participation from maximum from Bfsi industry. Fortunately, there are many senior dropouts because of COVID since last evening. There are 4 COVID positive participants, unfortunately, who were supposed to join from different parts of the country, who have called me to inform that they have been diagnosed for COVID positive. So just praying God that we all should be safe and fight with whatever situation we are into. So now I will formally request Dhananjay Singh, Director General National HRD Network, to formally welcome all the participants. Dhananjay, please.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Nalin. We are aware you are struggling with the personal challenges itself. So we wish for Smriti's speedy recovery, first of all. And
Thank you.
Likewise, I understand and know that all of us are going through their own professional, personal challenges in these tough times. Still, you all, just to keep the word and to be with us in this very important initiative, you all are here. I don't have words to thank each one of you, please. And from the core of my heart, I welcome each one of you. Despite all the concerns, all the challenges, you are here in this very important discussion, which is today focusing on Bfsi sector. And none other than Alokji himself is here. And HDFC is one of the biggest player in Indian corporate sector, as far as the contribution to the GDP, contribution to the Bombay Stock Exchange or National Stock Exchange is concerned. So, and thanks to Srini, I know he is in hospital, but from hospital itself he has joined. Thank you so much, Srini. And thank you so much, Kanta ji from UN Women and our own team from UN Women. I can see Madhulika ji, Bhumika ji, Shita ji, Abhinandan ji, all of you. Firuza ji, thanks for joining us. And all the participants from across the country, mostly from Bfsi sector. This is where we stand now, 6th in the series, and we understand and we know that Bfsi sector has a lot of women who join the workforce. And UN Women in our endeavor in organizing these very focused group discussions is to enhance the participation of women in a workforce. And wherever UN Women on an HRDN can support, we would like to play a role in that endeavor. So with this small welcome, I would like to again thank each one of you for joining us. A special thanks to Alokji, Kantaji, and the UN Win team, and each one of you, please. With this, I hand over back to Nalin, please.
So now I request Kantaji for her views, please.
Thank you, Nalin, and take care of your wife. Even a number of our team members are not well and still they are here. Ishita has not been well for last 15 days. Madhulika's mom is not well. Abhinandan's family was impacted. So, but thank you and thanks to each one of you to have joined us this morning. Thank you, Dhananjay, for organizing this very important roundtable. Why I say it is important is that this is one sector which is acceptable. I would say everything should be acceptable to the community, but the kind of communities that we work with, they have their own set of reservations about different sectors where they would like their daughters to go and work. But fortunately, this is financial sector, banking sector is one sector where parents are also okay. It's considered more respectable, I would say. So there is greater acceptance from the community, from the girls themselves. And it is just that we need to start looking at each aspect of where the girls are today and where they could be. And let me start by sharing with, I'm sure some of the attendees today are new to our program. We are working on a project called Second Chance Education. Second Chance Education program is meant for those women and girls who missed out on their first chance for some reason, whether it is in terms of education, skilling, work, or entrepreneurship. So we are trying to strengthen their skills. We are trying to bring them to the mainstream. We are trying to support them in whatever way we can so that they can take advantage of their second chance. So literally, this is the story of thousands of women. And in India, these are millions of women who, for different reasons, could not realize their dreams, could not share their aspirations with anybody, could not ask for support when it was required. So we are trying to address some of the issues they faced that time, and now if they are in a position to realize their dreams. We are present in 4 states for the time being: Bihar, Maharashtra, Odisha, and Rajasthan. Very soon we'll also start working in Delhi NCR. That will cover Haryana, Rajasthan, Delhi, UP, these 4 states as well, depending on the support. So what are we trying to do through these interventions? So we try to bring girls into the education mainstream. For example, if a girl dropped out after class 8 or she failed in class 8, but after some time she realized that she needs to complete her education, we bring her back to the NIOS platform, National Institute of Open Schooling platform, or State Institute of Open Schooling platform. We help her, we provide her scholastic support so that she can compete, take her exams and pass. And after that, the world is open to her, whatever she wants to do. In fact, many states have also made it a condition for a woman to have it, or any candidate to have at least 10th pass to become a panchayat member. And we don't want our women to be left out because they don't have education. So even it relates to the political or governance aspect of our country. That is one. Then and second part was skilling. And skilling has been slow during COVID period because most of the government centers have been closed after lockdown and even after lockdown. But we have tried to find different means to, and particularly online means and small group training programs to empower girls, to skill them for formal employment. So formal employment is one of the major areas of work for UN Women, because we know the labor force participation of women is going down over a period of time. For last 10 years, we have been seeing steady decline in women's participation in the formal economy, and we want to improve that. Now I'll come back to why we want to do that, but the next vertical or pillar of a program is entrepreneurship, and that is entrepreneurship could be agri-based or it could be non-agri-based, so off-farm and on-farm. And we have been able to do some good work under both these verticals in the last 1 year and a half. When we started the program in 2019, we were very upbeat that we'll be able to do everything that we had planned for, and then COVID struck. And some of the strategies that we had planned had to be changed because of that. So from offline, we went online. From bigger group meetings, we went to small group meetings. We also changed the content. We also changed the field monitoring of the work to online monitoring and taking stock of the situation every month through partners. So a number of things changed, but we did not stop at any point of time. And that's how we got good results in the entrepreneurship vertical. We got great results in the education because there's a huge demand and appetite for education. You'll be surprised to see how many women want to complete their education. Even 45-year-olds, even 50-year-old women want to complete their education. Just imagine millions of women have been left out of this basic right because of the circumstances that they were in that point in time. So going by that, we are encouraged to expand our program. And that's how we are reaching out to you, and how we are looking for you in terms of support is that you can do 4 things to my mind, and I'm sure there are many more. One is definitely you are already supporting us by being here this morning, so that we understand that you are concerned about the plight of these women and girls, number one. You can support their education, entrepreneurship, or skilling in whatever way you can, either funding or giving technical resources or giving training itself because you belong to this sector. Thirdly, you can give funds for training, either to UN Women or to our implementation partners, whichever is convenient, whichever is fine. Lastly, you can also involve women through formal employment, or you can support entrepreneurship. So these are some of the things these are the direct asks, and I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little greedy that I'm asking you in my first interaction with you, but we all know I don't know when will I meet you again. And I'm speaking on behalf of the women that we are working with. And there are ways and means to help them. And this is, I thought, was an opportunity for us to how UN Women can support in achieving these results if you are also a partner. So let me also share that our own commitment. One is we are deeply committed through our normative frameworks to remove all discrimination against women and girls, whether it is in terms of violence against women, whether it is in terms of decision-making, leadership, whether it is in terms of supporting the government in meeting their own targets for international reporting, whether it is, and the biggest commitment is to women's economic empowerment. My colleague Bhumika will share some of the things and practical steps on what you can do and how you can support us also through women empowerment principles. But for me, the simple thing is that we get together, we talk about it, we find common areas of interest and synergies. And how UN Women can work on this agenda is that we work very closely with state governments and even central government. So we bring the government buy-in. So that means tomorrow we are putting 5 rupees there. We also bring in government schemes and help women leverage those government funds that probably they didn't have access to. So that's one. So government buy-in, not only in terms of money, but also getting permissions, getting sometimes space for training. So those are some of the things also, that we do. We also help in branding and communication. Thirdly, we provide technical assistance on gender. So if you are planning any, and forget about this program, you may not support us directly. If you are planning anything related to development of communities, we'll be very happy to provide technical assistance to you to mainstream gender into that program. That is the third commitment we have. And fourth is that we also provide monitoring support. Monitoring means we can also help you develop a M&E framework, which can then help you measure the results that you get. So these are some of the commitments we make. We also, through the women empowerment principles, we will also help you build step-by-step capacity within your own organization to have more women into the workforce, not only having more women at the entry level, but also give them an enabling environment so that they can flourish, so that they do well. They don't opt out of work, they don't drop at certain stage, which is happening right now. How do we create that kind of environment that women continue to work in the jobs? Why we are doing it? That's the last point I wanted to make. We want to do this because we feel that the women make 50%, almost 50% of the population. So it's a matter of human rights. Women's rights are human rights, right? Secondly, beyond rights, it's also the talent pool for the companies to look at the talent pool. But right now you are choosing from, say, 50% of the talent pool. When you consider women as a talent, you will have 100% talent pool and you will have a better workforce. Through our work and through several studies, you would know that when the work environment is diverse, you have better productivity. The environment within the companies improves. Lastly, it's a matter of profits. We know that companies are set up to get some profits. And there are very many companies which are for non-profits, but you people, particularly the ones who are present today, are involved in a for-profit activity. You need to make money. And there are hundreds of studies which say that women, a company with a diverse workforce gets more profits. So there's a business case here for you to support women's employment, women's trainings, invest in their future. So I'm not saying a girl who you are training today will be part of your workforce tomorrow, but someday, somewhere she will be. Maybe not in your company, but somewhere else. And that is part of nation building. Not that everybody who wears a uniform is a patriot. Everybody else who is also adding to the national wealth, national development, national growth is also a patriot. So that's, with those words, I would like to thank each one of you. I'm around here now. My colleagues will take over. But thank you all very much for joining us today. It shows your commitment. It also shows that you are with us in this journey. And together, probably we can achieve a lot more than we can do alone. Thank you so much, Nalin, Dhananjay, and everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kantaji. Now requesting Bhumika for presentation on WA, please. Go to Bhumika, please.
Thank you so much, Nalin. Madhulika, hi. Will you be okay? Great. Yeah. Thank you, Kantaji, for sharing these amazing insights with all of us. First of all, thank you so much for having me today. I am Bhumika, and I will be representing WEBS on behalf of Suhaila today. I'm responsible for getting all the CEOs on board for these women empowerment principles in India. So I will not take much of the time on this, but I still think it's important to reflect a little bit on the context, I think, which Kantaji has already explained in detail. So what are we talking about and why your CEO's commitment is so important? Next slide. Can you scroll down, Madhulika? Yeah, that's it. Thank you. So if you could look at, India, and I know you are well versed with this, but still it's very important to reflect on the challenges that particularly, women are facing in order to pursue economic empowerment. We know that India is facing a declining women's labor force participation last few decades. We also, what is also, that is important is that reflect on the fact is that over 90% of them are in informal sector. Which leads us to only about 9 to 10% in the formal sector of the women which we are talking about, and therefore it's very important to see the role of companies, to see in promoting decent work opportunities for women, not only to able to absorb them in the jobs or the work that businesses can create, but also creating an enabling environment for more women entrepreneurs to be a part of their supply chain and through their procurement practices. So it is a fact that women take up a majority of unpaid work, so that it is also a reason they are unable to contribute towards to the economic pursuits that limit their participation in the economic activities. So they face a lot of gender pay gap of 19%. In South Asia, they are underrepresented in leadership. They face violence in workplace, public and private spaces, and there also exists gender gap in STEM skills. So they have lesser access to decent jobs and good opportunities, and of course gender bias and gender ceiling prevent them to advance their careers. So gender bias, as everybody knows, that is a discrimination which they face because maybe they're women, or the way they behave, or certain traits they consider that they're not taken in the same light as those demonstrated as men are taken. Like, for example, women demonstrates if a woman demonstrates confidence or firm decision making skills, she's likely to be called as too bossy sometimes and too aggressive. And if men demonstrate similar traits, they will be considered good leader, amazing, good decision maker. So I think these are some of the biases that persist, which limits women to advance in their economic pursuit. Similarly, the issue of the glass ceiling and sticky floor. Madhulika, next slide, please. Yeah. So why gender equality is critical? As far this will be coming from the CEOs of your organization, which is a great thing. As the CEOs has that kind of a vision, the broader picture, those broader idea that where exactly the interventions of the companies are leading to. So the first argument is for why gender equality is critical is that yes, women rights are human rights. We would look at the 50% of the population in the globe is of women, but still they're facing a lot of difficulties accessing the same resources, same opportunities as men do. So it is the matter of a great human right violation if 50% of the population of the globe has to face difficulties, in accessing basic opportunities also. There is a sustainability case to gender equality. Like if women are promoting to gender equality, we have enough researches, that says that if the women income is increased, for example, even for some rupees, like what she does is she usually invest in her family on nutrition, on education, or on economic activities. So I think this means that they are creating a human capital in the societies that would really transform and build up our economies as well. And if yes, there is also a business case to it. Next slide, please. Yeah, gender equality obviously is very critical for the growth and performance of the businesses, but also to the consumers as well. And the customers are becoming very, very conscious today of the fact that, what business practices are being carried and followed that promote gender diversity and inclusion in these companies. Next slide, please. Yeah. So how do we create gender responsive businesses? Yeah. So women empowerment principles is one such support that businesses is really looking at what kind of policies, practices which exist at this point of time. What are the gaps and what could be done to promote inclusion and diversity within the companies. So this program is being funded by European Union, and it is jointly established by UN Global Compact and UN Women in 2010. So as you can see, there are about 7 principles, and the first 3 principles usually talk about the high level of corporate leadership, like the inclusion of women more in leadership positions around the different level of management, but also to the fact that that this agenda has to be driven at the highest level by all the CEOs. So second is around treating men and women fairly at workplace. Third is around, sorry, I'm not going into the detail. Third is around ensuring health and safety for the women and men workers. Fourth is around promoting education and training, and giving more opportunities for women to actually grow in the organization. Fifth is around implementing enterprise development, supply chain, and as well as marketing practices. We do have a lot of marketing biasness towards women entrepreneurs, so actually removing them, all kind of practices which companies are doing. Sixth is around promoting equality through community initiatives and advocacy, creating CSR practices. And last one will be in measuring and publicly reporting on progress. Please, next slide, please. Yeah. So the fact is that you could look at these 7 principles, and they usually follow these value chain approach. So the value chain that you follow in your businesses, right from the leadership level to workplace, marketplace, and obviously community, including the aspect of transparency when you take initiatives and report against in your business responsibility report, or publicly you put that data to show that your efforts, that you have taken some steps in kind of promoting gender equality and women empowerment in your organization. uh, Next slide, please. So what is this WEB's journey? So first of all, it involves signing from your CEO. So what does it takes to sign the CEO statement? So there is an online form. The CEO statement of support is a document, is a Word format, which is required to be signed and uploaded at weps.org, weps.org. Once you upload that statement, you will receive a message from Web Secretariat within a week's time, acknowledging your company's status as web signatory. It takes about almost a week's time for this application to be approved in the system because of the due diligence process, and your company's name appear on the global website. So right now, also, if you can go to the website and see, country-wise, which companies have signed up from India too. And to be honest, we have about 4,800 companies globally whose CEOs have signed, and from India, even despite of the pandemic, we were able to increase the number till 218 from India. So this shows that how CEOs are really excited to drive this agenda of in India forward. Second is considering activating and sustaining are three pillars that you are looking at. So considering is taking the WEB's gap analysis, because we think that this is the right time, in terms of giving us the benchmark, the baseline for you to also see that where exactly your company stand. In terms of the practices and in terms of the policies which are being carried out, and what are the areas which requires further strengthening, like your pursuit to make your organization a gender responsive workplace. Then comes this activating. Activating is again, once you've taken these gap analysis tool, you need to develop an action planning steps, and really need to start taking steps to address all these gaps, to strengthen these areas that requires your intervention. And lastly is sustaining, which is taking your commitment yourself at your level, and developing maybe accountability framework within organization, to really see on, okay, how you're doing on the vision of your CEOs, and how are you monitoring the actions that you have taken. So these WEB's principles, it actually helps all the companies to mobilize their actions, maybe look at their policies and practices at workplace, and marketplace and communities. Madhulika, next slide, please. Yeah. So there are a lot of benefits also, like by joining these WEB's principles. So by committing to these women empowerment principles, obviously, first you are making yourself visible as a thought leader in promoting this gender equality in an international and global platform. Of course, you get best practices and exchange with peer companies. You can also exchange ideas and best practices. For example, we did have IKEA, like where they held that kind of a webinar where they did talk about inclusion and diversity, and a lot of WEB's companies were very keen to learn from their experiences. So we do provide that kind of platform where everybody is very excited to share and learn from among themselves. So because this is something that is driven at the highest level of UN, and we are also planning to have a lot of interactive sessions where where all these companies will come together and form an interactive core group in order to plan these interactive sessions going ahead, where they can exchange and share ideas in promoting gender equality. So we will also be working with you, as Kantaji has already told you, that we will be working with you in organizing these capacity building sessions and and trainings over the course of entire this year, together with our implementing partner. We have recently onboarded one of the implementing partner interview with us to carry forward these trainings. And of course, accessibility of gap analysis tool and action planning tool and specific COVID-19 tool. that we have come up with. So these are some of the initiatives that you would find value in associating yourself with webs. So next slide, please. Yeah. So I won't go much into the detail for gap analysis tools right now. But the thing is, after signing these women empowerment principles, we usually invite all the companies to undertake these gap analysis tool. Okay, and we're also coming up with this action planning tool, which is much more detailed level of these gap analysis tool, which is available only to web signatories. It's an online form which consists of few questions, which needs to be filled by somebody from your from the company, and the tool will ask you a lot of questions like what you have in place as an organization. Is there a next slide, Madhulika? Yeah. So the tool will ask you a lot of questions like what you have in place as an organization. As you can see the topics on the right side. The best part of the tool is that it comes to you as a free of cost and is strictly confidential, because a lot of companies come up to me like, if they're generating all this performance indicators, all their reports, so is it visible to UN Women? No, it is not even visible to UN Women, not also UNGC, as they are the administrator. Only you are the company who will be accessing those performance indicators and reports. After taking that tool, it will kind of give you a clear picture, where you need certain improvement in maybe in leadership, workplace, marketplace, or community. This tool will look at primarily at the gender aspect only. This will give you a snapshot of where exactly your company stands today. And as an organization, it will identify those actions which you need, you need to take as going forward. You can also take this tool after 1 year in order to measure your performance. It is a self-access tools, and after taking the survey, it will tell you where exactly you stand in terms of in your journey, maybe a beginner, maybe an improver, a leader, or an achiever. So for this also, you need to create an account on the website for yourself. It will ask you certain details of the company information. This survey will take about 30 to 40 minutes approximately, and occasionally you might reach out to your procurement and supply management team to ask certain questions, because there will be certain questions which you might be not knowing that answers to it. So UN Women will provide trainings and will work very closely in developing action plans, because a lot of companies come together with us like after taking those tools, like according to their contextual needs, we plan these trainings. We have already planned 2 trainings on POSH, the advanced level for the ICC members, and for the basic POSH training for all the web signatories too. We're also planning to all have all these trainings in the month of May, and I think June as well. We'll be having a lot of interactive sessions after that. So trainings, it will be imparted by the third agency, which is Interweave. So not all the employees will be trained in this training. It will be of a train the trainers approach, and obviously these trainings will be free of cost to web signatories. So yes, you may please sign up now. Now is the right time to sign this. And after this, I think next slide, please. Okay. Apart from these benefits, which I've already told you, there is one thing also. We have launched these Women Empowerment Leadership Awards yesterday. Where we will be recognizing, business leaders, CEOs for the exceptional work and championship of, gender equality. Last year also we had about 90 companies from India who were 90 companies who applied for these WEBS awards, and 21 leaders were facilitated during these awards. And I think I don't know exactly the number, but I think 4 or 5 companies from India were the winners from the in the regional level too. So this year we'll be having the similar awards, and all the web signatories will be most welcome to apply for the second series of these awards. So apart from providing the action planning tool, apart from providing these visibility and Webs Awards. We also recognize all these companies, in our outreach activities and as well as social media platforms as well. So companies do come up to me like where exactly the expectation is, what exactly do we need, from these companies. So to be honest, it's a voluntary commitment by CEOs of a company, and it is expected that his or her leadership, the vision and commitment to promote, gender equality will be, somewhere reflected in the policies and initiatives of the company. And if you want, I will be sharing my email ID on the chat group along with my phone number. Please feel free to reach out to me so that I can share my presentation or PDF in detailed version with you, which will give you all those necessary steps to sign these webs. And to be honest, I do have questions. It's also the fact we know that, there are a lot of small, medium enterprises and very small companies as well. And I completely understand that you might not be having very, structurized policies and practices in place. So please don't bog down with the fact that you might not have those, policies in place, which is completely fine. We all understand that. So this will be a journey which will give you insight of what can be done to grow in your businesses. It will give you a perspective that when you are growing your businesses, it will be a gender perspective business. So I think that's all from my side, Kantaji, and everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Now I would request Mr. Alok Shiapurkar, Dhananjay Singh ji, Madhulika ji, Kanta ji, and other dignitaries including Sujata ji and Bindu ji to kindly take the discussion forward. Over to Alok, sir.
I think, first of all, a very good morning to all of you. It's indeed pleasure to be here. And also thank you very much, NHRD, for bringing to this platform. And I'm getting to see some old friends like Sujata is here. Of course, Dhananjay is here. Indeed, pleasure. And we are meeting Sujata after a really very long time. So Avinash has been a very big supporter for our Mumbai chapter. So Avinash, I wish you all the best and good time, safe times for you. Kantaji has really, set the tone and in a very, very emotional plus factual, a combination of both, I would say, followed by the presentation by Bhumika. So I think we are not here as a panel to reinvent whether women can contribute or not. The question is, how do we increase women participation in workforce? Some of you have gone through the statistics. Some of the statistics have been shared. The fact is, yes, a woman's career is full of landmine. And landmine starts with the transfer where parents do not allow her to go out to A location to B location, followed by the marriage, then childbirth, husband's movement, and finally kids grown up and commitments. So in spite of that, when the women acquire a CXO level position or CEO position, I think you just stand up and hats off to the women that she has crossed all the obstacles and climbed up. Thankfully, education, as I say, sunlight is the biggest disinfectant. So is the education is one of the biggest factor to make a shift in society's mind. And thankfully, some of the old mindset where we were against women education or even existence of women in some of the states, to investing in her education, sending her to medical colleges, engineering colleges, management schools, and really investing in her education, which is duty of ours, no obligation. To some of the challenges like dowry, etc., thankfully reasonably behind us. Of course, we have not conquered the world there, but this way is very encouraging that society is making shift. Only challenge is probably we would like to make this shift faster, but then you have a pandemic like COVID and the financial crises which continue to derail you and challenge you. And that's where I say the mankind, the society as a species on this earth, this is where our courage will be tested against all odds, and then the results will be counted that what is that we have done to get our equal partner on the equal platform. So while we could have had more participants, but today I'm going to get more driven by the content of discussion. And my appeal to Dhananjay ji is that whatever we are going to discuss in next 1.5 hours, if somebody can note down and make and write an article in our NHRD journal talking about what kind of suggestions have emerged, what kind of confluence of thoughts have happened here, and let people not only from BFSI but all the readers or people who are benefiting from NHRD services take those ideas back home to see whatever they can implement at their workplace, apart from supporting the UN women, and see whether they can make a gradual shift, if not a transformational shift in their workforce composition.
Sure, Alok ji, we will certainly do that. Thank you.
So this is the same. Second is financial industry or financial service industry or banking, financial service in insurance, BFSI. While this industry has reasonable participation when compared with the other players or other industry, but I think there's a tremendous scope. I would not hesitate to share as a moderator of this session, while my mandate is to let many more people speak rather than I am speaking myself. But my personal insight, which I think will add value here, that apart from all the economics indicator like profitability and other dimensions, women's presence in this industry very critical is the integrity and chances of fraud or manipulation are some of the dimension which women's presence removes that possibility to great extent. When in a branch or in any setup where women is one of the custodian of the process, it is very difficult to shortchange. It is not that I am saying women are honest and men are dishonest, but this combination is, this chemistry works very well to ensure the integrity, not financial integrity, but integrity of service, integrity of delivery of things, the quality of conversations. So all these things would only add to one thing, that there's a tremendous advantage of having a healthy composition of women. And it doesn't mean that somebody is asking you to push a woman over in the absence of merit also. While some of the things are important for men or the organizations to support women, also NGO like yours can do, while we are seeing a lot of participation in STEM courses from women, it is increasing, thankfully, showing an improving trend. But larger participation, because generally women would take a back step when it comes to finance, money, maths, number. And so left brain thinking is generally not the first choice in many women. I'm not saying everybody. My daughter is a mathematics statistics professional. So I have a example in home itself. But I'm talking of general tendency and education and telling that this is also the field where you can excel. Like today, women, Indian Army is showing tremendous growing, trend of women participation, including going on the front and flying the fighter jets. So these are some of the areas which I thought. So now I invite Kantaji to first, tell what is your experience in this industry and where you think we all need to put our efforts to further improve the participation.
Thank you, Alokji, and I really appreciate what you're saying, that there's a huge scope to not only amplify the stories, the success stories that women have been able to achieve, but also salute the women who have been able to achieve what they have achieved despite the hurdles that you mentioned. Definitely, as UN women, we have a different take on this. It is that if a woman has to biologically bear a child and she has to breastfeed the child, this is a societal work. It is not a woman's job herself. Biologically she does it, but we need children, we need the next generation. So the whole society has to support that woman to bear a child. That's number one. Secondly, yes, other than carrying the child for 9 months and then breastfeeding the child, there is nothing else that a man can't do. everything can be done by the man as well, or maybe better sometimes. So when we are doing a huge disservice to the country and to the men, I would say, when we don't allow them and we put them in categories that this is a woman's job to continue rearing the child, and if a woman has to sacrifice her career, if when the children are growing up or they're taking their board exams, a man can do that job very well as well. Also, the burden of these gender norms, Alokji, impact both men and women very badly. In fact, men are also deprived of certain joys of life because they are men. They are supposed to be providers, even when they know their wife could be better or their sister could be a better option. Maybe a man enjoys being at home and doing things. So what I'm saying is, time has come. Probably we were all governed by, or were all probably expected to behave in a certain way, but now time has come and we start looking at human capacity and capability and give people choice. If a man enjoys staying at home and doing something from home, we should welcome that. We don't put him in a category कि ये तो घर पे बैठता है, ये तो अपनी wife की कमाई खा रहा है. It's really strange, and people like us need to change that. And anything that we say on a public platform also has a meaning, right? So we also choose the right words. So that is the second expectation we have. When we say a woman can do this better, and you said it, I'm so thankful to you that you mentioned that, not that all men are dishonest or all women are honest, no. But by saying that, we put additional burden on women to be honest and let men go scot-free, that they, if they are dishonest, it's okay, they are expected to be like that. In fact, this is a very personal trait. It depends on the value system. It depends, and women continue to bear the burden of men's dishonesty on themselves, because they said, oh, as a woman, how could she do it? Mamata Banerjee could be corrupt, but how could as a woman? Why? If she has to deal with the kind of political environment that she is in, वो AK-47 के साथ चाकू से थोड़ी लड़ सकती है. We all need to understand that, right? But my take is that we respect people who are honest, and in fact, the moment we say honest, the whole purpose is defeated. We are supposed to be honest, all of us, yeah. And कोई कहता है honest officer है वो. What do you mean an officer has to be honest? Sorry, I mean, the other way it is bad the other way. However, now coming back to what is our expectation is that there is a huge need for financial inclusion in the rural areas. अभी जो प्रधानमंत्री ने जो 500 रुपए 3 महीने तक लास्ट ईयर दिए थे सभी अकाउंट्स में, उसमें आपको ज्यादा ही जानकारी होगी हमसे, तो करीब 50% खाते जो हैं उनमें पैसा नहीं गया. क्यों नहीं गया? क्योंकि वो खाते एक्टिव नहीं थे. अब औरतों को ये बात कौन बताएगा? ना कोई अखबार पढ़ती है, ना वो इंटरनेट देखती है, ना उनके हस्बैंड उनसे डिस्कस करते हैं, ना उनके भाई उनको बताते हैं. सबकी फीलिंग ये है कि औरतें पैसे वैसे से क्या मतलब है उनको फाइनेंस आता नहीं, मैथ्स आता नहीं, ये आता नहीं, वो. अब अगर किसी को आप बचपन से कहने लग जाएं कि तू पागल है, मतलब आप 4 बार कहने के बाद भी विश्वास होने लग जाता है कि ये सच में कोई ना कोई बात है, मेरे में प्रॉब्लम है, तभी ये लोग इतना कह रहे हैं. औरतों को बचपन से, मुझे याद है मेरे स्कूल में कहा जाता, तुम क्यों पढ़ोगी साइंस, तुम होम साइंस ले लो, राइट? और ये बिना जाने समझे कहते रहते हैं टीचर्स भी. सो वहां से शुरुआत करके, बट इन टर्म्स ऑफ रियल वर्क, we need to financially include all women, particularly the unreached, and there is a workforce that is required to do that job. So we train our women at that level. We call them Bfsis, on biz managers, rural managers. It's a 6 months program, for example, for rural managers who work at a block level. They have Bfsis under them who support every woman to realize her entrepreneurship potential. So they can also include, could be involved in financial inclusion. So that is one thing that could be done. Why I'm giving these local examples is because we are working with the most marginalized girls and women. I don't need to reach a LSR girl because we are not that she doesn't need information, but she's not my target audience. My target audience is the woman who nobody has ever engaged in to understand what her aspirations are. कौन जानता है वो कि जूडो का इंटरनेशनल प्लेयर नहीं बन सकती, वो कौन जानता है कि वो फाइटर पायलट नहीं बन सकती, और उससे बात ही कौन कर रहा है कि तेरे सपने क्या है. So that is where we want to start. We also work very closely with the families and their parents so that they at least start understanding the financial potential and the benefits of having a woman as an independent entity, so that कल को शादी टूट भी जाए तो वापस उनके घर में ना आए. ये real worry हो गई है parents की. Having said all these things, safety of girls has also become a major concern. And company like yours can be a role model in providing for safe transportation or safe workspace and safe accommodation for rural girls so that they can come in groups. There's safety in numbers. There are 5 girls coming from a village, parents are more than happy. हमारी लड़कियां किशनगंज से और उड़ीसा के बिल्कुल लास्ट डिस्ट्रिक्ट से हिमाचल में ट्रेनिंग कर रही हैं, क्योंकि एक गांव से 10 लड़कियां आ गई हैं. तो बहुत आसान है वो उनके लिए आना. दूसरा आपके मिडिल मैनेजर्स को जैसे भूमिका ने बताया, when we'll be very happy to be involved. मिडिल मैनेजर्स के रेजिस्टेंस है बहुत. अगर हम उनमें भी इन्वेस्ट करें so that they start accepting girls and don't accept them as problems कि वो तो शादी हो जाएगी, प्रेग्नेंट हो जाएगी, सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट का केस हो जाएगा फलान. अगर सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट नहीं होगी तो केस नहीं होगा ना. But we can't resent the girls who come and report if something happens like that. So those are some of the things that we want you to invest in their education, training, skilling. We want you to hire, you means companies. We want you to hire them and give them an enabling environment so that they can flourish. Thirdly, never, and this is my personal request, don't undermine a girl just because she comes from a certain background. You don't know her dreams. So we need to invest in their stories, in their dreams, and in their potential. All of us are entitled to having our own bubble around our head and see, this is what I want to be. Who are we to laugh at them? So please provide safe space for women to share their stories and work there. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Kantaji. Indeed, some of the things have really forced me to reflect. Very well spoken. Before I invite Dhananjay, I just want to give heads up to Sujata and Bindu that while you may not be formally on panel, but I am certainly going to use your good presence here to add to the melting pot and see what emerges for us as a group here, and let each other learn and benefit from it. So Dhananjay, just an overview from your side, and you are leading in a way one of the premier HR body in the country. What's your take on this? Because fact is, women participation, especially in South Asia, otherwise globally also, has seen a steep decline, I would say, rather in last decade. And if I look at it from Southeast Asia point of view, in 1990, it was 30% plus. Today in 2020, it is 20%. And I'm sure the post-COVID data is only going to show the decline. So that means I'm now confining to India as a country because we stand alone also the big geography and a big economy. We are so deprived of that talent. And the other day I had a meeting to discuss some employee issues. And I had the chief of operation, I had the chief of finance, I had the head of sales. And unfortunately, there was no women. And I said, look, all left brain thinkers have come here. We should have at least 1 or 2 women. And we then ended up inviting 2 women, and the discussion became quite, interesting, and a lot of thoughts have come up. So would leaders be conscious of this and ensure that wherever required, in a positive way, engineer conversations and discussion affecting business? So Dhananjay, over to you.
Thank you, Alokji. I will be very brief because I am conscious very senior leaders are present in this discussion, and we would like to learn from them and hear their point of view. Sujata ji from Aditya Birla Capital, Bindu ji from Oracle, and each one of you. So personally, I have been working in this field since 2005, 2006. And before that, in year 2000, when in my previous organization, we were working on a concept called India 2020. With later, he became the member of Planning Commission. And before that, he was chairman of Boston Consulting Group India Mr. Arun Maira. So, frankly speaking, 21 years back, we had a big dream, and women were the very core of that dream, very core of that dream. Because India, as a nation, despite all the challenges, uh, there is a very different thought process when we think about women's contribution in our life, in our businesses. I completely agree with you that challenges are many, and uh, from that journey, I'll come very swiftly to the recent experiences. We were in Khajuraho, and you know that it has been selected as one of the iconic cities of the country, and 1,000 capacity of 1,200 PAX Convention Center has been created with the joint support of Government of India and Government of Madhya Pradesh. And in that convention center, the deputy MD of one of the ministries of the government, I asked her, how many women are there in your organization? How many women are there in this sector? How many women are employed in this area, Khajuraho belt, as far as the tourism is concerned, as far as the different businesses are concerned? Alokji, the answer figures were not there. The numbers were not available. So my feeling is that more and more we push this thought process, still the gap will be there. But it should not discourage us by pushing the envelope, by pushing the agenda. We have to continuously do that. I completely agree. The numbers certainly, once we will have the data, it would have gone down. It should further motivate us that yes, it has gone down. What we can do to recoup, what we can do to re-energize. And if it has gone up, and I'm aware in cases it has gone up also, then there we have to be humble and say that how we can increase more. So this is the crux which I would like to share, that first is the mindset part, where consciously we have to drive this agenda. Second is that if the numbers are going down, we have to again motivate us. It has to come from within that. Doesn't matter if it has gone down. Let's take some actions. Like we were talking to Kantaji, can we tweak some policies, our HR policies itself, which will help women to join the workforce or to come back to the workforce? So rather than getting demotivated, that decline in numbers should further motivate us that what we can do individually, what we can do together as a team. And third point, if it is going up, then we should not feel happy about it, because we should only feel that, yeah, it's a good sign, it is going up. But what else can be done which will further increase this? Because my personal, as the leader, my personal experiences, more and more women in professional life, it will only add value to what we are doing and to serve the society. Doesn't matter which sector we are, whichever sector, whichever need of the society we are fulfilling, having women in the workforce will always have a very bright side of business outcomes, of professional outcomes and ethics. And I'm not being biased by saying that men are not, but I'm just sharing my personal take on this. With these few words, again, grateful thanks to all of you, and I'm handing it over back to you, please. Alok ji, unmute kar lijiye.
Yeah. So I think, Dhananjay, you made some very, very important points. And there is one more, it's called catch-22 situation, whether women participation will lead to economic prosperity of a nation or vice versa. So should we wait for economic prosperity and then women will be pulled up, or we should push up women and then economic prosperity will be achieved? To me, it's there's a coexistence, and Kantaji is here, and whenever you have opportunity to kind of influence policymakers, some of the incentivization, for example, giving little bit extra tax break when you achieve 40% and above women participation in an organization, little bit of incentivization to the organization, or little bit of tax concessions to women so that they can participate, or CSR spending, where 2% women empowerment is there, but not much is done. So can one say, okay, out of 2%, X percentage should go to women education and women empowerment. So all those things can be discussed, brought forward, and also referred to the discussion that this is what the apex body of human HR professionals, this was discussed. So
thank you, Alokji. Very, very valuable.
This is a great idea. I'm just thinking the 40% workforce of women and government gives tax incentives. I think that's a great idea, Alokji. We will definitely take it forward.
Yeah. So Sujata, now I invite you to share your experiences. You have been a successful HR and women leader, both very well recognized and celebrated, I would say. So share what is your organization doing, or what's your personal thought. A combination of both would certainly enlighten this forum.
First thing, it's a pleasure. Good morning, Alok, and good morning, panelists. It's a pleasure, Alok, to meet you once again. Yeah. So, that's a good open discussion. You're saying my personal thoughts on the organization policy, that is very, very critical. Make it very simple. See, any organization or institution wants to be futuristic, wants to be profitable, wants to be sustainable. Simple, correct? So if all these three elements, why? So that you will have a competitive advantage and you'll become a great customer-centric organization. History again and again has proved that any institutional organization which has diversity has been able to be profitable consistently in any adverse circumstances. This has been proved. So unless and until you will not have different mindsets, okay, if you will not have different thoughts, different views, you cannot truly serve your customer. Let's not go anywhere else, because we all claim that I'm a great customer-centric organization. So diversity is a fundamental aspect. For that, unless and until the organization will not take a commitment, because change, what was said and done, has to be driven from the top to the bottom, till it becomes a change, till it becomes a part of your culture. So the commitment now, let me speak on behalf of Aditya Birla Capital. We have a commitment from our chief executive, Mr. Rajesh Srinivasan, from our CHRO, Shubhru, and all the CEOs. We have about 7-8 stalwarts, all have committed. And hence, if you are showing commitment, that's why we said we'll be a part of the signatory to the WP. That's the first thing. And then that is the indicator for a commitment. Also, in most of the organizations, DNI is, a part of HR function. Kabhi kuch kar lo. But we are saying, no, it is just not an initiative. It has to be a standalone function. So today you have an entire DNI team, which is saying, yes, we are here for the cause. Secondly, it is very good to make all statements, but unless and until you will not have system, processes, governance mechanism, you cannot implement change. For example, if I'm saying, let's say I want 40% of my organization population to be women, unless and until I do not tell the CEOs, I do not tell the functional heads, unless and until I don't tell my talent acquisition team, unless and until I don't talk to my consultants, that if you want to work with us, this is our mandate. What is not going to be measured cannot be monitored. Then you should, and if required, Alok, earmark some roles till we have a fair playing ground for all of us. Earmark some roles. Initially, it is discipline till it becomes culture. Initially, wearing mask is a discipline, then over a period of time, it may become culture. You have to say that every of your growth will have to be linked to diversity, including your rewards, including your recognitions, including your bonuses, including everything. Say this is going to be a part of it. That governance mechanism is easy. Now, you may say everything, but unless and until you will not provide safety, safety is just not, you providing cabs, hotels, no. Emotional safety, that a woman can give her view irrespective of the level she is in. She may be a fresher, she may be a management trainee, she may be an off-role woman. Unless and until she does not have the voice that, that I can safely, communicate, that is for me safety first. At a thought level, is the organization ready for thinking differently? So from our organization, we have started this. So right from the talent acquisition team to our consultants, we are working on it with clear numbers, which will be monitored on our KRAs, because we all understand KPIs and KRAs better. Yeah.
Yes.
Sujata, very powerful. I must say, thank you. You are on our side. You're making our job so much easier. Alokji, I'll just take a minute to just compliment her for what she just mentioned. We have a phrase for this. कि शादी के गीत होते हैं, they come, people come, शादी में आके बधाई हो करके चले जाते हैं. So top leadership does that, because when they go to big events, they are asked about these things and they all say good things. We are going to start and we already started. Actually, that doesn't mean anything. The moment shadi is over, mithai is over, khatam hui kahani. So what you're saying is really making sense. And thank you for saying that. आलोक जी, आज बहुत मजा आ रहा है. आपने जो डिस्कशन को रिचनेस लाई है. Thank you so much for that as well.
Thank you,
Thank you, Sangeet. Thank you, Sujata.
Thank you. Now,
awesome discussion. I think of this roundtable we have, this is one of the most interactive one.
thank you. I think I must give this credit to all our prolific speakers who are speaking. So now I invite Bindu. You represent a very vital sector. So we would like to hear you. Like BFSI, there's a perception that is okay and good for women. We would like to say similar thing for your sector. So why don't you a brief introduction to the members here and then give your opening remarks. Over to you.
Thank you. I'm sorry I can't get on the video because of the
Absolutely.
internet wavelength.
No.
So essentially, I'm from Oracle, India, and I'm part of the financial sector. We have a business which works with the financial sector, and it's known as FSGBU. You are right, Alok, in saying, it's a little easier in the IT sector, ITES sector for women. But having said that, I'll tell you the pipeline dries, especially at mid-levels, because typically between the 5 to 8 years, I don't think we, for a longest time, have had employee-friendly policies in terms of whether it is childcare or flexi time, etc. Because see, while the policies can be created at a macro level, ultimately it is the moral suasion of managers to manage it, right? And not create for lack of a better word, a male or a macho culture where people work late or people work long hours, etc. So that is something which can be changed with education. And we have realized it is a real problem that as the apex gets narrow, it gets specifically more narrow for women than for men. So as a result, we have exactly like, everybody's been speaking, there's a lot of education that we have to do, not just for men, but also for women, because some of the unconscious bias that men have also translate to women. I've noticed that many women, most of us, I think, have to be 100% sure that we can go for that role or we can put a hat in the ring for any senior position. Whereas men can be about 60% sure and they're confident to be able to do the job. So that is something that, keeps women from getting into leadership roles despite having the ability. We also tend to second guess ourselves a lot. Even in meetings, I do tell, women, especially in my own business as well as in other businesses, to speak up. Sometimes they have great ideas, but they're very, they have some second thoughts about expressing it because of the larger culture of the country, more than the organization itself. So that is a real problem. And we do notice it, whether it's customer interaction or customer facing roles, or whether they have to be in pure R&D and they have to, for instance, write white papers, present it in various, technology forums. There is a certain diffidence in women. So we are trying to help with that. The second part and the more important part is you can't wish away 5,000 years of patriarchy, right? I mean, it's not as if, you wave a magic wand and it's gone. So there is a lot of, resistance, especially as you rightly said, Alok, STEM, disciplines, whether it's mathematics, whether it's engineering, whether it's technology, science, we've always seen men assuming that not too many women are interested in that specific stream of professions. So we've tried to also catch people young through our entire CSR initiative, as well as, business invested initiative. We're trying to help women to increase their awareness about STEM disciplines and if they're interested to get into it. In fact, in Oracle, in the headquarters, we are running a school exclusively for women in our Redwood Shores facility in California to encourage women to start like in probably 7th or 8th grade so that they get more interested in science and technology. So these kind of things we're doing even in India, but it is a long way. It is a long way and we acknowledge that. We still don't have a great percentage of women leaders, even in India as well as South Asia. We're trying to grow it and we understand it's a lot of work in terms of coaching both women as well as men to be a little more inclusive and to ensure that the standards need not be the same, but the outcomes that they can expect can be the same. Like for instance, men may like to work long hours because they're natural networkers, right? So they may like to stay and work because they're doing some work and a lot of networking. Whereas women possibly don't have the time or they have to go back home to children. So we're trying to educate people to say inclusiveness should work at different levels based on the convenience of the person rather than merely having a one best way for everybody. And we are encouraging a lot of women who want to grow in technical roles because all said and done, we have a paucity today of women who opt for individual contributors at senior levels. And they are very prestigious in a product engineering company like ours. So we are encouraging a lot of women to go into those roles if it's really of interest to them. So those are some of the things that we're doing. As people have been speaking all along, it is important to do this top down. It will never work in any other way. So we are the good fortune for Oracle is our CFO globally is a woman, and she's a co-CEO as well. So it really helps us in that sense to have that kind of an inclusive culture within Oracle. And we've also removed D&I from HR. It's not just an HR function, it is a general function. It is of interest to everybody. So we have tried to make it more mainstream and they are accountable to the lines of business heads. And of course, line of business heads have a goal set which have to enhance, inclusion. Having said that, there is this moral conundrum, right, Alok, where you say, do you have to create some kind of reservation? Doesn't it make the workplace a little more adversarial? Do men resent it? But if you really look at a country like Norway, right? They said we'll mandate, at least in the public sector, to have women on the board. They came to that conclusion because they said, even in a country like Norway, it would have taken them 138 years to have a 50-50 kind of a board. So they said we can't wait for 138 years. So somewhere we also have to have open positions where we will consider women. At this stage, let me tell you, that is not going to fly. We need to create the right amount of understanding within the organization before we can do that. But that is something that we have as a consideration for the organization. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for your patience for listening to me. Thank you.
Absolutely fine. And it's a really great input. And I think the discussion is getting richer by every statement being asserted by all of you. So I truly feel humbled that I got this opportunity today to anchor this. One or two things which are my reflections and which I will certainly invite all of you to share, that as you go above middle level and enters senior, mid and the senior level, there's also a challenge in terms of the pipeline, talent pipeline availability with respect to women leader. And many boards are finding it difficult to get independent director, women independent director. So that is, of course, the deeds of our past which are leading to these kind of challenges. So this is not cooked overnight or there is no deliberate thing, but it only tells us, warn us, caution us that yes, you need to work harder than ever before to quickly build pipeline. Otherwise, tomorrow businesses will collapse in want of a good quality leaders, whether it's a men or women. Now, I invite Kantaji to share some of her experiences in terms of what are the best practices she has observed in terms of truly working with the women leadership development. And then obviously I'll come to other speakers. So Kantaji, over to you. What have you seen, somebody who's not in the active corporate sector from a distance?
Thank you, Alokji. In fact, banking sector is supposed to be one of those where we've seen many leaders. If something goes like what happened in Chanda Kocher's case, then people come back and say, look, we gave chance to Chanda Kocher and this is what, this is what happened. But we don't get perturbed by that. We go by what she did and what great changes she brought. I'll go back to what Sujata mentioned. And that was great because the leadership and the top leadership at that has to drive it. And they have to drive it from every aspect of it. Just not just saying we believe in diversity, we will bring in more women in the workforce. No, you can bring women, but you can't make them stay. You'll find thousands and thousands. In fact, last count was 15,000 in Gurgaon, women who have done their MBAs and who have studied abroad sitting at home now. And Gurgaon is how vibrant the place is in terms of work and diverse culture. Primarily because of two things. One is the unpaid care work that women have to do. And during the pandemic, women had to take care of the children at home. They had to take care of the elderly. They had to cook because maids were not coming. They had to do everything. So that they also sacrificed their jobs. But there are some good practices where companies have made it their mandate. So long as people like us will keep driving, we will not reach there. We need people like you are, Sujata is, Bindu is, who make it their mandate to promote more women. So getting women is just one part of the work. Keeping them there, giving them space to speak out, giving them space to share their views. It could be on anything. You don't know, my 30-year-old girl speaks better than I do, and she knows about gender diversity because I have spent those many years in the field, but when she articulates, it makes much more sense. So we should not undermine a girl who just entered the workforce. Maybe she has better insight. Also, the point that you made, that when you have men and women in a room, they both have come from different backgrounds. They have different perspectives. So unless you hear the other one, you will not know what the other perspective is. So to bring in a great perspective or a better perspective, I would say, we need to give chance to both. And there are hundreds of studies which say how women are stopped in between. When they start making a point, there are 28 times more chances of her being stopped when she starts making a point because men stop her. So good practices are, and there are many in the country. There are companies which have started investing within their company. They have created infrastructure. Of course, there are traditional sector, hospitality being there, retail being there, beauty and wellness, there are more women there. But it did not happen by chance. They have invested in them. They have created women-friendly infrastructure. They have invested in separate toilets. They have invested in their well-being, their future, their dreams, again, going back to dreams. And any company can do it. It just it requires a little financial investment in that sense. If there is no toilet in a manufacturing unit, you need to make a toilet. If there is not a common room where girls can go and just relax for 10 minutes, you need to invest in that. You need to also invest in the training and capacity building of your middle management because they are the ones who resist this change. So that is the one. And I have seen, I don't want to name companies because as UN people, we cannot name companies. But in my experience, I have seen many who were not doing anything before, 10 years 10 years back, but have also realized that when they have women on the workforce, the impact is huge, not only in terms of profit. And one example I always give, in 11 years, in Jindal has Jindal Group has a factory in Haryana. I always bring that example because I saw that happening from 0.0 to where they are now. In 11 years, they are at the highest level of profit because they brought in women. It was all men factory, not even a single woman there. But they invested 1 crore rupees in the beginning. They also, and last thing from my side would be that you train the women the way you want it, not you leave the training to somebody else and then you hire it. No, even if she studied in the best institutions, give her the training as per your requirement. That is the best fit in my experience. I have seen that working and working very well. So wherever they are coming from, also invest little money and time in reorienting them to your requirement. And that is where they'll stay. Loyalty comes for small things. Trust me, loyalty doesn't come because of FT pay. Because if you start paying 1 crore, the person will go for 2 crores. But if you open a crash for women, the company will, the girl will stay. If you have clean toilets for women, safe, there's no sexual harassment happening. I can't say that it will happen 100%, but reduce the number of sexual harassment, and you listen to the girl that it happened to you. Allow her the space to speak. The company, she'll be loyal to you. So these small things make a difference. Asking about the family, asking about how she has traveled from her home to the office. Investing in those small little things will bring you more rewards than anything else, because women have been trained. I'm not saying naturally they are loyal, but they have been trained to be thinking on those lines, that anybody who does good to you, you repay in double. That's the training part of us. So I mean, salary, of course, is one factor, but there are many others that we need to bring into the company. And people like you can make those changes, small changes through policies, and of course, bigger things bring to our attention if we can do something with the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Kantaji. I will just make a comment here. This is my reflection and not a comment on anybody's thing. That when we put a women participation as an official, highly forced agenda, it already creates a resistance. Okay, so my question to rest panelists will be just what's their thought? How do we remove the force and bring the volunteerism? So how do we create the atmosphere where everybody sees the merit? If something is good, it is good. I mean, there is no harm in acknowledging largely. If I am saying still people will have their perception, their biases, their views, which okay to be on board. Because one of the survey done globally, it found that 20% men felt that gender pay gap is a fake news. Okay. So one can certainly give some space for bias, but this seems to be quite a big challenge. Second question to panelists would be that what is that we can do that it becomes a fashion to employ women rather than, it's a by law, by reservation, and it becomes in trend, if I have to say so. So I will invite Sujata and followed by Bindu and then Dhananjay. So I'm just putting this in sequence. So Sujata, Bindu and Dhananjay, what are things you think can be done? That's question number one. And any other comment or commentary you would like to share for the benefit of the group, feel free to speak your mind out.
Alok, before I answer your question, let me just go back to what Bindu and Kantaji said. Where Bindu mentioned women don't have time for networking. Why? Because she's supposed to do a professional job because she's educated and she wants to work. And it's given for granted that you're supposed also to take care of your home. Okay? So whereas for a man, let's say a man and a woman, both husband and wife come back from the office, the man can go straight to the living room, put his legs on the table and relax. The wife is supposed to run into the kitchen. However, whatever educated families, it is ingrained in our minds. That is why woman does not have time for networking. I think that also, and now coming back to Kantaji, she made me think, a very important point. Before organization, at home, do we ask our girls, what is your view? What is your opinion? A 5 or a 6-year-old child, I'm not even giving a gender to that child. A child is capable of giving her or his view. We don't take and consider anyone's view or opinion, and much more it comes for a girl. These all have created biases saying stereotypical behaviors. Now coming back, Alok, I'm saying if men have to resist, for a minute, let me keep that. Why do you have reservation system in India? Simple. You had reservation system in India and you had Dr. Ambedkar to fight because you know that a portion of people have been suppressed for quite long. Today, do you need or no is a different thing, but they came up because we suppressed. because those voices were not heard, correct? You had to take up the drastic measure. That's the reason it's not a fashion. It is a basic human right. Nobody, Alok, is asking you to do a favor. They're saying we are humans. For us to be humane, it's important to treat people on simple merit. So in order to choose merit, you have to give opportunities, isn't it? Isn't it a basic right? So it's not a trend. Nobody is doing anyone a favor. I'm very, very sorry. I'm not trying to sound like a feminist. I'm saying first, let's be human beings. This pandemic has taken away that no more talent has to be in metro. We've said the other side of technologies, it's giving us an equal opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah. And for the same man who thinks there's a comp gap, a pay gap, I think he or she, I mean, we all love to look at data and make decisions. They should go back to refer data before having this view. So it's not a trend. It's a basic thing for us to be a progressive nation. That's my view. I'm sorry. I think I'm
perfect. All right. I would also request participants to post their questions so that I can invite panelists to give their comments. So Bindu, over to you. And I would also like you to comment what is the Oracle journey in terms of women empowerment in your organization? And you can also comment in generic sense for the IT industry. Bindu, can you hear me? Because we see you on mute if you're there. Okay, I think we'll go to Dhananjay now. So friends, you can post your questions here. Dhananjay, over to you. What has been, you have been working with a lot of organizations, some of the best practices of women empowerment, if you would like to share, and I will share a couple of them after you speak.
Thank you, Alokji. So we have seen some organizations who have really done a lot as far as the women empowerment is concerned, and not only in India but globally. So when in 1988, All India Management Association, we started with a program of women in leadership roles. And it was very early in those years, particularly in corporate sector. And then all of a sudden, there was a gap of almost 10 years, 11 years, nothing much happened. Then all of a sudden, those years, she was a young officer, and later she became one of the first India's chairman and managing directors of a science-based organization. And she was heading that organization as chairman and managing director. She has a very obvious and simple question that why we can't bring our focus back to it. So it's not only about organizations like IBM's. I have seen in this journey, there are many public sector organizations also where they have done a lot to facilitate and become catalysts to bring more women in the workforce. And I'm not only talking about from the HR perspective, I'm talking about from the overall organizational perspective. So a lot of organizations, whether it is, and God has been kind, I have for over 10 years worked in micro, small and medium enterprises also across the country. In that journey, by traveling from east to west, north to south, Alokji, I can share with you, when we talk about women empowerment, it is not only restricted to large MNCs or PSUs. It is equally valid for micro, small and medium enterprises where the promoters, they have gone for a very clear shift only on merit that women should be given more employment and more opportunities in the organizations. So my personal experience in this is that it is a mindset first, and lack of resources and anything else comes later. And I have been privileged to see these journeys in all kind of organizations, unorganized sector, micro, small, medium enterprises, government enterprises, organizations, and MNCs. And every year, everywhere, the common insight which comes again and again, if we have the courage to go for merit, if we have the courage to, and we have that conviction that yes, having more women in the workforce will give edge to the organization. Those organizations have really grown, and they've really grown well. It has its own challenges, which some of our colleagues may feel challenges, but personally, I have a feeling that that's the part of the journey. We have to push that agenda, and those who have pushed that agenda, later researchers have found that it has really paid very, very.
I think there's some technical challenge with Dhananjay's connection. So Bindu, are you back here? Okay, till the time Dhananjay comes back, let me share what some of the things we have done. My personal statement is that motherhood should not be a derailer for a career of a woman. Okay, that's my personal statement for myself and the obviously then organization where I drive human resource practice. Second point is wherever we have seen that women are going out from generally middle or senior middle level, we have offered them, can they be associated with us in a retainership capacity or some other form. So many women who have gone, either today they are distributing our products as a financial planning advisor and selling the mutual fund. Many are engaged in the training of our distributors. Some are doing the training for our employees in a particular topic, whether they are in sales or they're in client services. Some are even involved in inducting our management trainee batches. So in a way, organizations, I'm sharing this as one of the best practice wherever possible, you all can invite the respective organization to do a horizontal deployment of this. Second, Nalin, since Dhananjay will take some time to connect, I would like to present one offer from my side. And that is, I have done training for around 16,000 employees of different organizations on financial planning. I also invite participants here to go on my LinkedIn profile recently, where I published an article on Women's Day, that what are the considerations women should keep in mind while doing a financial planning and bring more financial independence to them. And why I got motivated to write, because I have realized one thing: if women is a millionaire versus a man has a millionaire, women is a more multiplier effect. She multiplies the wealth and by sharing it. So I don't want to comment on the man's side. There are also great philanthropists on this, but this is my observation and I am subject to correction. Maybe I hope I don't prove myself wrong someday. But I have seen whenever you see people, they are multiplier. They'll somehow the other way create some or the other opportunity activities to regenerate the money to next level. It happens by temperament. It doesn't require a sense of financial planning or as being a chartered accountant or something. No. So we can, Nalin, at NHR can invite, I'm happy to come for an hour or two to do an exclusive dedicated session to bring financial awareness, quotient improvement in women on the NHRD platform. We'll be happy to cover session, and let's give this as a tribute from NHRD to women.
Okay, all right, sir. I will connect with you separately on this.
Yes.
And we'll take details of how we can take it forward. And obviously, with Kantaji's support, if she agrees, we can do it as a joint program, as an NHRD and Women program.
Yeah. So Dhananjay, sorry we lost you due to technology constraints. So please.
Power cut. We are at home. So that's all what I wanted to say for now, please.
Okay, so I come back to Kantaji. from your point of view, there's a BFSI Sector Skill Council as a part of the ministry initiative. Various skill councils are there. There's also BFSI Sector Skills Council, and I had the good fortune to be on the committee of the BFSI Sector Skill Council. Now SEBI, which is Security Exchange Board of India, and Association of Mutual Funds of India, have worked out are working a proposal which they have given to some mutual fund companies, and same is going to go to other BFSI sector organizations also, maybe NBFC, money lending, and banks, insurance, where they are saying it is mandatory to take X number proportion people in the apprenticeship training governed by the Board of Apprenticeship Training Board, and you have to train them. The people would be 12th qualified, they could be graduate, different category, different thing, and the part of the stipend to that will be reimbursed by the government. While companies like ours or Aditya Birla or ICICI, another large company, may not go for the government reimbursement model, because the idea is not to kind of reduce the expenditure there, but genuinely add to the empowerment of people who need skills. Because one point Sujata brought is very right, that I am seeing a geographical democratization of talent happening. So you are not having those 6 or 8 pockets, Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, Madras, or Bangalore, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Indore, and many other cities are emerging very fast. They've emerged. Hyderabad, they are driving the next level of growth. Gurgaon and Thane, I consider as a part of the larger greater Mumbai or greater Delhi. Idea is that now, since this spread would certainly give additional bandwidth for organizations like yours or women to choose locations which are relatively closer to their hometown or wherever their families are living.
Okay.
Any thought process to collaborate with the BFSI Sector Skill Council or any such bodies? Kantaji would like to share something what's in your mind here. And second thing is, what do you see? Tell us 2-3 steps which will help for the women empowerment.
Sure. Thank you, Alokji. So as I mentioned in the beginning, the skilling part of our program also suffered last year because the sector skill councils were not able to conduct training. The physical spaces were closed. So it was so unfortunate that the moment we started our program, the close down happened. So when the real implementation started. So for 1 year, we could not do any physical training. And that's true in the remotest areas, even though it was not COVID infected area, but still because the centers were closed as per government directions, the training could not happen. So we are trying to, the first thing that is going to happen from next week onwards is that we are going to work with 6 to 7, including BFSI Sector Skill Council, train the master trainers of all these sector skill councils on gender. Because it is not only for recruitment of women, and I'll go back to how the mobilization happens. So these companies which have the training mandate from sector skill councils go back to whichever areas they are working in, and generally it's a boy or not a boy, the man goes for mobilization. Now parents would not be very comfortable sending their daughters with a man who goes to convince. Somehow it looks fake. So we are recommending that a man and woman team should go to rural areas and field areas to mobilize girls.
Right.
When they come to the classroom, the atmosphere is very, I don't want to say the word, but then the language that is used in the classroom, because the trainers have never been invested in. Nobody has told them about the gender aspects.
Sensitivity.
Right. So we are going to do a training of trainers for BFSI Sector Skill Council also, retail, hospitality, IT, ITES, and telecom. So number of these sectors which employ more women to begin with, because we also don't have the bandwidth and we don't have the financial resources to cover everyone, but this is just the beginning. NSDC has given us the mandate and they have requested for support. So this is what we are going to do. Third thing that happens is that when companies come to hire people in these training centers, and I have seen many those drives, even the local staff in the training center in the PMKKs would always say, yeah, the job is in Bhubaneswar, these boys will be able to go. For the women, we'll have to ask. So there's bias from the counselor to mobilizer to the trainer to the person who's linking them with the companies. We need to remove those biases. Also, the training center has to be very women friendly in terms of access, in terms of toilets, in terms of classroom, in terms of the presence of male and female faculty. That needs to change immediately. And we have also given these recommendations to Ministry of Skill Development. So we are not only working at one level. So that is number 2. Third is private sector has to come forward and start investing in the kind of training they are looking in their workforce. So if the skills are required by HDFC and LIC are 2 different kinds of skills. Right. But yeah, within the sector also there are divisions and there are differences. We need to respect that, and also I would say demand-led training. So you have to customize the training as per your requirements. So give your inputs there. So that is the third thing. Fourth is when your people, your talent management teams go for hiring, you have to make it a mandate that at least at the entry level, this is what we are going to do, at least 40%, 50% women. And why, just to go back to reservation issue, we have been independent for 70 plus years now. And we have one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. People are still fighting for voting rights. We got everything equal, but equal doesn't mean we have equal opportunities or we have equal access to everything. Look at the figures where we are. We are 14% in the parliament today. Can you imagine? Whereas we had equal rights there. Look at the education gap, look at the work gap, look at the land holding gap, asset holding gap. One thing that is going to make a huge difference in the overall scenario of the country is promoting asset holding by women. And sector like yours can definitely do a lot there. Giving a loan at a concessional rate, for example. Also having more women to talk to women, to say why it is important to put the house in your name. Of course, governments have done some registration charges difference. Banks should also start doing it for loan. I gave this idea to one of the auto manufacturing companies. They immediately took it. They said, okay, if a woman will buy a two-wheeler, we will give 1,000 rupees discount. And that 1,000 rupees was not a huge deal. But the father then said, okay, this is in my daughter's name, not in mine. So when girls start getting used to the idea of holding assets in their name, then your idea of financial planning will come in place.
Yes.
A woman like me started having a separate account very recently because we were encouraged, "Achha, tum to bahut ambitious ho rahi ho, apne paise alag rakho." You know, it's a very common thing. We are discouraged. We are made villains if we start thinking of ourselves. That's how the societal mindset works. So when asset holding, having financial planning for themselves, securing their future, irrespective of husband or no husband or bad marriage or good marriage, this is an important aspect of a woman's life. And the day I had my house, Alokji, trust me, that was the day I felt empowered. Absolutely. When the house came in my name. Till then, it was looking like you are living in somebody else's house, whereas it was a government house. My husband is an army officer. It looked like somebody else's house because you are somebody's dependent. When I entered my house, that was the day I felt, yes, now I belong here. So every woman has to have some asset in their name so that she gets access to financial resources, loans, businesses. She has a voice of her own. And if one woman speaks, she's not only speaking for herself, she's speaking for 10 other women. Absolutely. If one woman gets employment, 5 other women are in line who will learn from her. If one woman is harassed on the bus, 5 girls drop out of school. Just look at the impact, how it happens. If a man is involved in a sexual harassment case on a bus, other boys don't leave their studies, right? And even he doesn't. But the girl who he harassed not only has to drop, 5 other girls drop. So we have to take those small steps. Right. Raise our sons like being responsible citizens. Raise our daughters like the strong women that they are, and all women are strong like all men are. So we have to be very conscious of these biases and do something about it. Thank you. मैं बहुत emotional हो जाती हूँ. Sorry about that.
No, you have to bring that emotion because this has a, it requires that emotional persuasiveness. Otherwise, most of it will rest on paper. So before we, as we are entering to the concluding leg, I would invite Sujata to give her overall comments and any other input she wishes to share so that I take it to the formal conclusion.
I would actually like to thank you, Kantaji. This kind of conversations will help us in re-looking at our systems and policies, like what you spoke when you spoke. This CSR, the 2% contribution, if we can actually invest there, you can see a large kind of transformation, because most of the organizations say we don't have money. Correct? If this CSR will be exclusively focused and then ask them for results. The exemption comes only when you can see the result. Definitely, there should be a process change, policy change at a government level. That has to be there. Now, coming back, I think, organizations like us, we have to see how can we tie up with schools, because everything begins at home and schools. That is a fundamental principle. Can we all invest our time in, having conversations at a school level? Then again, I'm saying it's not men against women. It's all about equity, not equality. Can I remove away all the barriers so that meritocracy will succeed? I think we are looking at very fundamental values. Now, organizations like us, can we spend time in schools? Can we spend time in colleges? Can we encourage women to join the workforce? Now, encouraging women is very easy, because I think, people have changed, their perspective have changed. Parents want, their girls to go to schools and colleges. But after that, are the organizations conducive enough to retain the talent that you have acquired? So do we have conversation with women? Again, I'm saying men should mentor women and women should mentor men, because it is both together which will actually bring about the equity perspective. So do you have regular conversation, understand all the systems and processes at the low, at a far-flung branch? Everything is hunky-dory in metros and corporates, Alok. Everything is fine, because the girl there who is brought up is confident. She has access to, many kind of forums. But somewhere, let's say at a Jabalpur, okay, far-flung branches, like what exactly Kantaji said is, does she have a toilet? And do we actually talk to the woman there? And I'll tell you, more than anything, emotional abuse is there even in organization. I will not listen to you. It's a social boycott. At a certain stage, she will give up, because for her, for a little lady to come and join at a Jabalpur or a far-flung branch itself is the biggest step she's taken. So how do we help them? Do we, listen to their voices? How do you bring them at a corporate level? At least we can hear. I think thanks to technology, we should be definitely doing that. And how are we going to take accountable for the women who have joined us? What is the acceptable percentage of attrition? I was just talking to my team member now how CI has a business excellence model and how the organization is evaluated. And then we get a lot of awards as a best company, best organization. I think these kind of forums are required for corporate offices. On the 7 principles itself, if we are being measured, that means you are just, profitability means what? Profitability also means inclusion. I think once all of us come together, we will make a lot of difference. Yeah. And I think it's very important if we start looking at all the women across all levels and ask them, you should have a diversity council. Like what Bindu said, probably in IT, it's very easy. I think now it's, especially in BFSI space, Alok, we should have the diversity council, and it cannot be treated as a HR function. You'll be good to everyone, try to bring in a little women to showcase. I don't think it should be the leadership team who has to take the onus. And
separate agenda for the business, yeah, getting shared with a function.
It should be a critical agenda. Yeah. As much as you are looking at profitability, as much as you're looking at customer centricity, you should look at D&I as an agenda which should be part of your organization strategy.
Unless the focus won't come.
Absolutely.
Okay, friends, I think we had very, very substantial discussion. And before I enter the last leg, because I'm mindful of time, it's 11:50, and if I raise next topic, we will cross the Lakshman Rekha given by Nalin ji and Dhananjay ji. So I would say that उन्हीं को मिलती है जिनके सपनों में जान होती है, मंजिल उन्हीं को मिलती है जिनके सपनों में जान होती है, पंखों से कुछ नहीं होता, हौसलों से उड़ान होती है. So I think we need to get emboldened, empower, and execute. These three things are extremely important to get the true talent of our women in our economic and social activities. I think as the economy would grow, there is a natural percentage which will increase the participation. But are we as a leader willing to put our penny and say that yes, we will also accelerate regardless of whether economic activities or not, and leverage our heritage with such a rich culture which has always otherwise empowered women. It's only lost in last couple of 100 years. So it would be relatively easier for us. Extremely thankful to each one of you for having really contributed to this idea. As a person, I have had tremendous learning in spite of having so much of experience. Lot of thoughts I have revisited and reflected. So I would like to personally thank Kantaji, Sujata, Nalin, Dhananjay, Bindu, and all the participants, Avinash especially, and all the participants that they shown tremendous patience by listening to us and also giving their comments in the chat box. I wish I could have interacted with each one of you personally and asked you to speak 1 minute each, but I think maybe we'll keep it for some other day and NHRD will create another forum around it. So thank you very much. I wish you safe times. Do take care of yourself, and hats off to Dhananjay and NHRD for creating such a wonderful forum. Over to you, Dhananjay.
I normally don't intervene in between.
Yeah, Sujata ji want to say something.
Sujata ji, please.
I just have a point. The opportunity NHRD is going to give, it would be effective if the CEOs and the Diversity Council will come together and present what is their plan to ensure diversity and inclusion happens in their organization.
Ji, at NHRD, we are really open to any ideas, and to be very frank with Alok ji and you, if we can drive something like this, we will 100% give our time and energies to make that not possible. And I would like to just summarize by saying and handing over to Ishita ji that obviously there are many moderators and many speakers who add value to the discussion. But the way Alok, you have contributed today, and the best thing, you are able to extract the best out of Kanta ji, Dhananjay ji, Sujata ji. I think this is a rare phenomenon. Everyone has.
They are already best. Was I did nothing. Thank you very much.
You did many things without knowing that you are doing many things. Thank you so much, Alok. Thank you so much, Kanta ji, Dhananjay ji, and Sujata ji, Bindu ji, and other esteemed participants. Ishita, if you are around, over to you for a formal vote of thanks, please.
Thank you so much, Nalin. I will not take much time as we're already running short on time. I'll just simply say that I'm extremely delighted and thankful that each one of you could take the time out to be with us today. And thank you so much for your valuable contributions, your insights, as well as I can say to your budding commitment towards gender equality and women's empowerment. Thank you so much for being with us today. And with that, Nalin, I'll give it back to you, or should I hand over to Dhananjay ji? Okay, Dhananjay ji, over to you.
मैम आपने जो बोल दिया वो फाइनल है और हम लोग उसको वहीं
तो फिर आप मीटिंग क्लोज कर दीजिए फिर.
Thank you so much, and we can formally close the meeting, and we look forward to your continued support. Do join WEBs. Do ensure your HR policies are more aligned to women, and more women join the workforce. That's the only humble request. Thank you, each one of you. Grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.